There's a difference between lost and unreached. So people are just as lost in Turkey as they are in Tennessee. They're apart from people, apart from God, apart from Christ, they're lost. But here's the difference. There's a few churches in Tennessee. And there's Christians in Tennessee. There's not a lot of churches in Turkey. Not a lot of Christians there. They don't have access to the gospel. They don't know a Christian. They don't have a church to see the gospel visibly portrayed and hear the gospel verbally proclaimed. They're unreached by the gospel. That's what it means to be unreached. They don't have access to the gospel. That's why we don't say in our churches, I don't know why we talk about unreached people all around the world. There's unreached people in my office. There's unreached people in my neighborhood. Don't say that. Those people aren't unreached. Say, well, how do you know? Because they're in your office. They're in your neighborhood. They have access to the gospel. How do you know? You're it. We're talking about people who don't have access to this good news. They don't have access to it. They've never heard it. They've never heard it. And if something doesn't change, they're going to die without ever even hearing it. And based on Psalm 51 and the testimony of all Scripture, they're going to go to hell without ever even hearing about how they could have gone to heaven. I didn't receive this sovereign grace so that I can sit back and say, God ordained for me to be reached, and God ordained for them to be unreached. That's just the way it is. No. No, God ordained for them to be reached. Revelation 5:9, Jesus shed his blood to ransom, to purchase people for God from every tribe and language and people and nation. He ransomed them for a reason. Jesus ransomed them so they might be reached by him. You know what? He's ordained you and me to be the ones to reach them. His church. Sinners saved by this gospel. Just think about what we heard last night. We know the primary problem for every person in the entire world. We heard it last night. They're all in bondage. Everybody, 7.2 billion people in the world in bondage. 2 Corinthians 4:4, the God of this world has blinded the minds of unbelievers to keep them from seeing the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ. So what do they need? We saw it last night. 2 Corinthians 4:6, they need God to give the light of the knowledge of his glory in the face of Christ. But here's the question, how's he gonna do it? How's that gonna happen? How is God gonna shine light, 2 Corinthians 4:6, into blind minds, 2 Corinthians 4:4? The answer is right in the middle. 2 Corinthians 4:5, we preach Christ. See it, feel it, realize it. We know the problem for every person in the world, and we have the answer for every person in the world. So preach it, proclaim it. Brothers, there is an eternal cancer that's killing the nations, and we have the cure, the gospel of salvation by grace alone, through faith alone, and Christ alone. They need to hear it.